All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are taking a trip to a city that's built on a natural wonder. A wonder so spectacular, it was actually considered sacred. We're talking about a place where history and geology have literally fused together. So, what if I told you one of the ancient world's most amazing cities was built right on top of what they believed was the gate to hell? Yeah, that's not just some story. That's the real history of Hierapolis. It was a Greco-Roman city, a mix of Greek and Roman culture, and everything about it, its beliefs, its famous healing waters, even its connection to the underworld, shaped what it became. Okay, let's dive right in. The name itself, Hierapolis, well, it literally means sacred city. And that's a massive clue for us, right? It tells us that long before all those grand Roman buildings went up, this spot was already considered holy. It was a place where the natural world just felt, well, supernatural. So let's kick things off with the one image that has pulled people to this place for thousands of years. We're talking about the geological marvel they call Pamukkale, which translates to the Cotton Castle. And you can absolutely see why. Now, these incredible snow-white terraces, they're not cotton and they're definitely not ice. What you're looking at are huge deposits of something called travertine. It's a type of limestone, and it's been built up layer by tiny layer by these mineral-rich hot springs that just constantly flow down the hillside. So how does this even happen? Well, it's actually a pretty simple but really powerful process. You've got this hot, mineral-packed water coming up from the ground. As it flows, the carbon dioxide in it just evaporates, and that causes calcium carbonate to crystallize and harden. Over centuries, and I mean centuries, this process creates these absolutely massive white stone waterfalls. It's like the earth itself is just slowly, constantly building this masterpiece. All right, now our first stop in the actual city is the same thing ancient visitors would have seen first, the massive, and I mean incredibly well-preserved necropolis. And when I say massive, I'm not kidding. The scale of this city of the dead is just breathtaking. We're talking over 2,000 tombs. That makes it one of the largest ancient cemeteries anywhere in Anatolia. And what does that tell you? It screams that the living city it served was huge, and it was rich. This wasn't just some small town. This was a real metropolis. And you better believe they took protecting these tombs seriously. The inscriptions you find here aren't just keep out signs. No, they are terrifying, super detailed curses designed to scare the life out of any potential grave robbers. What's really fascinating is that the architecture of the tombs basically lays out the city's social structure for you. You can see everything, from these huge mound tombs from the earlier periods to these fancy house-like tombs for families and grand sarcophagi on pedestals for the super rich. And then you have simple rock-cut graves for the poor. It's all here, showing you exactly who was who in Hierapolis. So all this wealth, where did it come from? Well, believe it or not, a single inscription on one merchant's tomb gives us the whole story. This guy, Flavius Zeuxis, was a textile merchant, and his tomb says he sailed to Italy 72 times to sell his stuff. That tells you everything. Hierapolis got rich from a booming textile industry. Okay, so we're leaving the city of the dead behind us now, and we're heading into the world of the living. We're passing through this huge, impressive gate, the Frontinus Gate, and stepping onto the city's main street. Try to picture this. You're walking down a street that's almost 15 meters wide and a full kilometer long, lined with these grand columns, shops, and important public buildings. This was the absolute heart of Hierapolis, buzzing with activity. And get this, it even had a complete, sophisticated underground sewage system. Pretty advanced, right? Even the public toilets here have a story to tell. So, the Emperor Vespasian decided to put a tax on the urine collected from the public latrines. See, it was valuable stuff sold to tanneries. His son thought it was a pretty disgusting way to make money. But Vespasian, he just held a gold coin up to his son's nose and asked if it smelled. When his son said no, he replied with this famous line, pecunia non olet, money doesn't smell. Here's a little trick for you. A great way to guess the size of a Roman city is to look at its theater. The one here at Hierapolis, it could hold about 9,500 people. That's a huge number. And it confirms, once again, that this was a massive urban center. And if you look closely, there's a little architectural detail that tells you a lot about the entertainment here. See that high wall between the stage and the front row? That wasn't for acoustics. That was a safety barrier. It was there to protect the audience during gladiator fights and shows with wild animals.
So yeah, it wasn't always just plays and poetry readings.
All right, now we're getting to the real heart of the matter, the spiritual core of the city. This is the very reason Hierapolis was even built here to begin with.
This right here was the original sacred spot. They called it the plutonium, or the gate to hell. It was a natural cave that was constantly letting out toxic vapor. To the ancients, this wasn't just a geological oddity. It was a physical entrance to the underworld, ruled by the god Pluto. This made Hierapolis an incredibly powerful religious center.
So the geographer Strabo wrote about this place about 2,000 years ago. He said, "I threw in sparrows and they immediately breathed their last and fell." It sounded like magic, right? But the priests knew the science behind it. The cave was emitting carbon dioxide, which is heavier than air. So it created this deadly, invisible pool of gas right at ground level. The priests knew to stand up straight, hold their breath, and they'd be fine. But any small animal that wandered in, well, they wouldn't stand a chance. And here's a crazy twist. We move on to the climax of our tour, the Antique Pool. Now, you can literally go for a swim here among fallen Roman columns. And the amazing thing is, this whole experience was created by a massive earthquake in the 7th century. It just toppled a bunch of columns right into a thermal spring. So something destructive actually created one of the most beautiful and unique spots in the whole city. And for thousands of years, people have traveled here just for these waters. They stay at this perfect warm temperature, somewhere between 36 and 57 degrees Celsius. And they were believed to cure just about everything. I mean, look at this list. Heart problems, rheumatism, skin diseases, you name it. This made Hierapolis the go-to health spa of the ancient world. So, as we start to wrap up our tour, let's just pull back for a second and look at the big picture. What makes this place so special is that the line between what nature created and what humans built, it just completely disappears. And that's exactly why Hierapolis Pamukkale is a UNESCO World Heritage Site for 2 reasons. It gets recognized for its natural heritage, those incredible Travertine formations, but it's also recognized for its cultural heritage, the massive, well-preserved ruins of the city itself. It's a masterpiece of both nature and humanity, side by side. So Hierapolis was a sacred city, a world-famous spa, and a bustling metropolis. And even with everything we've uncovered, you have to remember it's built on a landscape that is still changing, still being created. It just makes you wonder, what other secrets are still waiting to be found, hidden just beneath all that white stone?